how much does it take to build a 24 room hotel?
एक तो आपका लीज चला जाएगा सो दैट यू आर पेइंग मंथली एंड उसके बाद इंटीरियर्स ऑफ द रूम्स सो लगभग फॉर 25 रूम के लिए इन टर्म्स ऑफ द इंटीरियर आपका रिसेप्शन का इफ यू हैव अ बैंक्वेट स्पेस एज वेल लगभग 50 to 1 CR इज
What do you think? What is the unit economics to work in if you're building a 30 room hotel?
So if you see your budget hotels, the gross profit is minimum of 25 to 30% for budget hotels,
Okay.
and your expenses are more of like your staffing, your housekeeping, your rentals. So as a 24 rooms hotel for me, because you add your rentals as well, it comes up to approximately 5 to.
While you are working, I want to understand your experience of challenges that a person will face to make a hotel, run it, and to go and make a brand.
So there are a lot of challenges. The initial challenge would be is you need like-minded people who are working with you. So your team has to be really good. The second thing is obviously
How do you feel the technology is going to change the hospitality industry in terms of operation, in terms of sales, and also in terms of profit?
I'll tell you about this.
What do you think that if there is a young person who's coming out in 20s, in their 30s, what they should be opting for? Of course, the risk appetite you mentioned, but what is the ideal for someone to
Make your own brand.
Let's start this with the question that is right now very relevant in this industry.
जी.
There's a lot of young entrepreneurs who are coming in. बहुत सारे नए चेहरे हैं. And everyone is young and coming into industry, in hospitality industry. Of course, understanding that there is so much of rise in industry. What do you think about it? Why there is so many of young people joining this industry now?
I think youngsters like me, पहले क्या होता था, to build a hotel, you need to be a big chain. But अभी क्या हो रहा है because of the asset light model,
Yeah.
it's easy to start off with 24 rooms or a 30 rooms hotel. Earlier you had to buy your own land, so you had to pay more for the real estate and आपका capex भी ज़्यादा बढ़ जाता था. But because now
You're saying 25 room hotel बनाना थोड़ा ज़्यादा आसान है
Right.
versus. So what is the cost involvement in this? कितना कैसा क्या लगता है मतलब how much does it take to build a 24 room hotel?
एक तो आपका लीज चला जाएगा सो दैट यू आर पेइंग मंथली एंड उसके बाद इंटीरियर्स ऑफ द रूम्स सो लगभग फॉर 25 रूम के लिए इन टर्म्स ऑफ द इंटीरियर आपका रिसेप्शन का एंड इफ यू हैव अ बैंक्वेट स्पेस एज वेल लगभग 50 lakhs में 50 to 1 CR is what
It takes. Okay. So 1 CR is basically you can come up with one
one good budget hotel.
So you can build it from scratch. Do you include the land cost also in that?
No, not the land cost because you need to take it with lease. अगर land cost अगर आप बैंगलोर में देख रहे हो, especially where we have made a hotel in North Bangalore,
Yeah.
land cost itself is approximately 1.5 to 2 CR. If you're taking the land cost, then it's going to be a little expensive.
1.2 CR.
1.5 से 2 CR.
And this is for how much area that we're talking about?
80 by 60.
80 by 60. And this is the ideal size for making a 24 room.
For a 24 rooms hotel. And this is like only a budget hotel with no restaurant.
Okay. And because it became a sweet entry point, this is the amount of money people can spend.
Yes.
But if someone doesn't own a land and has to buy it is somewhere around 3 CR.
3 CR, yes, just for the land. And then उसके बाद your government approvals. So 3 CR तो लग ही जाएंगे.
So 3 CR is something that person can have and get into a hotel.
Yes,
business.
if they have that.
Yeah. So why not taking 3 CR and getting into any other business? Do you have any idea if I look at now and give you 3 CR, what will you choose if not the hospitality?
So depending on my experience, abhi what I'm seeing is e-commerce is growing at the moment. आप India में देख लो, or if you're seeing internationally as well, depending on the product. आप China जाके you can source any type of a product which is running mostly in your country or आपके demand में, depending on the pricing. E-commerce is one good business which I want to enter, and I've already started the process where I'm creating an own e-commerce brand as well. So it's more of sourcing out saffron. I'm creating a brand selling pure saffron and pure honey. So I've just started with this initially.
So either someone as young as you should go into e-commerce or in hotels.
Hotels is again depending on your interest. My interest started because as a kid, whenever I used to go to a hotel, I always used to see the interiors, the customer service, the fragrance around the hotel. So it always excited me. And I always used to tell my father, who himself is into construction, ki once I, finish my masters, or once I come to a certain age, we should start with a hotel. And his support, without his support, I wouldn't have started, because, he motivated me. And because of this experience, jo, whenever I used to go to a hotel, I always used to feel ki khud ka ek hotel hona chahiye.
Because it was
This
glamour.
not about the glamour, it was more about, आप जब घर में होते हो, there are so many guests coming and going, and I always love to host people. So this is what I thought, ki, if you can do this at your home, why not bring in a lot of people to your hotel? I love it when, people are coming in and going out from one place to another, and you get to meet a lot of people. आपके connections increase होते हैं, आपका network
So
बड़ा होता है.
let me break this down to one thing. Even if you have money, you will choose where your passion lies when it comes to hospitality.
Yes.
This is what you're trying to
Yes.
say. Someone has to understand that this is the trade of work which will not also give you money in business and profit. This will also give you a passion to follow, serve people, and is this something important that everyone who's getting into hospitality, a young person and young entrepreneur who's getting into hospitality, should have a passion?
Definitely. Don't see this as a business itself, because business brand बनाने में it takes approximately कभी-कभी 1 साल हो जाता है, कभी-कभी 6 months भी होता है.
Correct.
But if you have the passion, then you'll give it your best. It's not like कि आप, you're going at 8 a.m. and you're coming back at 5 p.m. or 6 p.m. This is not a 9 to 5 job.
Yeah.
This is a 24-hour job. कभी-कभी, पूरा दिन हो जाता है. कभी-कभी you'll have to be on the calls. You'll have to train yourself first, so that, you can train your staff and your other people. क्योंकि hotel में guest doesn't see कि आपका interior कैसा है, आपका खाना कैसा है. At the end, what matters is, are they happy or are they not happy?
Yeah.
And if they go out happy, they go and tell 3 other people or 4 other people, and then you make a network of, word of mouth. People are coming in, just so that उनको पता चलेगा कि मुस्तकीम के होटल में, I loved it. उनका खाने अच्छा था, his customer service जो हिसाब से front office ने बात किया, this is very nice. So that's what really matters.
So it is basically more of happiness as a feeling rather than money coming in.
Yes.
Right? Do you find a lot of young people around you? Have you met any founder who is into hospitality and they're young like you?
At the moment, yes, I've met I think 2-3 people till now, and they've started small, like how I've started. Alhamdulillah, from 24 rooms today, we've scaled to 100 rooms.
Okay.
But I've met so many people who want to start their own cafes. They've come out with, different unique ideas where, they want to start a dosa truck, or, someone who wants to start like, chain of burgers or cafes. I have another friend of mine who started a cafe as well. So he's bringing his legacy forward. So there are so many people who are today just not setting up businesses to make money, but they are following their passion. And obviously, if you're doing good, then money definitely comes in.
Doesn't sound crazy that now entire Gen Z has this mindset of making name rather than making money. Of course, money comes in at the top of it, but everyone is bothered about how should I make a name for myself? How should I make a brand for myself? Is that something that you're also seeing around you in the fraternity of business that you are into?
So in this business, obviously, brand today is not just about the logo or about the name you choose. It's all about the customer experience. And for me in hospitality, yes, definitely, as you said, as a Gen Z person, I also want a brand. But before making a brand, you need to get your basics right. If your customer is liking you, if your guests are happy with you, then itself that becomes a brand. For me, brand is equals to customer satisfaction and customer happiness. If that is right, then your brand is automatically in place.
Correct. Take me through the budget segment of hotel that, like you talked about, small inventory hotels. And when you say you have done 100 rooms, so I'm assuming if you're doing 24-25 room hotel, आपने 4-5-6 होटल कर ले होंगे और आप और भी खोलने की कोशिश करोगे, because if that is a growth pattern.
Yes.
If you're opening multiple hotels, which means you're seeing the success. Do you think that there is a immense growth or a trajectory of growth happening across budget segment in this industry?
Yes. So I'll tell you, while I was a kid, जब हम hotels के लिए जाते हैं, definitely when my dad used to book hotels, he always used to book 5-star hotels, क्योंकि क्या है, family satisfaction is important, and वो time आपके पास budget hotels उतने थे भी नहीं. Like, you know, let's say from Bangalore अभी आप मुंबई जा रहे हो, or even if you're traveling abroad, you know, there were only like 4-star or 5-star hotels.
Yeah.
But there is a sweet spot which I noticed is 1,500 से लेके 4,000 is what the upper or the lower middle class is willing to pay. And पहले क्या होता था, if you're not earning a good salary, आप क्या सोचते थे, if you're traveling somewhere, you would want to stay in your relative's place.
Yeah.
But nowadays, people choose privacy more than, you know, going and staying in their relative's place.
Yeah.
So if you're designing a good room, well, like 25-30 rooms, basic amenities like, you know, your kettle, your tea, coffee machine, and आपका एक basic अच्छा room with good interiors, people don't mind paying from 1,500 to 4,000, and if it's at a good location.
Yeah, so you're saying there is huge demand out there in this?
Absolutely, there is good demand. Because I started in 2022, but before I started as well, I was seeing the rise of hotels opening each and everywhere, and this is only happening because the travelers have increased. And because my dad is from the construction and real estate segment, I've noticed now recently a lot of people are not willing to, you know, buy properties. They want to explore.
Correct.
You know, वो ये सोचते हैं कि, you know, instead of investing in a property, why don't I invest in, you know, myself, where I can travel, where I can connect with a lot of people. So if you see the rise, पहले a lot of people were not traveling domestic wise. But even if you see today, India mein hi, there are so many people traveling different states just to explore the heritage of a different state. So that was the rise.
It has increased after COVID.
After the COVID.
Yeah, domestic travel has increased.
Exactly.
Does domestic travel is the main reason for the budget segment to rise?
Yes.
Okay.
That's what I feel, क्योंकि a lot of people are traveling today, and वही है कि, you know, they want to go and try out different cuisines, they want to stay in different cities, and if you're having a good hotel, they are traveling. And it's more of not only आपका domestic travel market, I feel the corporates as well. पहले क्या था, big companies used to have their headquarters or branches only in one city. Because now the jobs are rising as well, there are a lot of training centers, you know, I could name as Amazon or, you know, your other big companies. They are setting up headquarters in Bangalore or in any other states as well. So a lot of movement of employees, you know, from one city to another city is happening. A lot of training is happening because new headquarters are opening or new offices are opening. The employees from one city are traveling to another cities for training as well. So this is why a lot of budget hotels are coming up.
So one is domestic travel.
Domestic travel.
Is employee, which is business.
Yeah.
Of course, that we count in the domestic travel itself. Do you see this growth will be more linear now, or it will exponentially grow over time now?
According to my study, yes, this is going to expand in another 2-3 years. इसलिए even if you see Bangalore is opening their second airport as well, because the rise has been increasing. And according to the latest study which I saw, Air India and Indigo have expanded, and, you know, they're buying more fleet of flights as well, just because the travel is going to increase.
Yeah, that's a good indicator. If they are buying more planes,
Yes.
they should open more hotels. Correct. What do you feel that now when I talk to a lot of hotel owners, they always talk about there's so much of competition. But when I talk to you or anyone who's getting into hospitality as a business, they think there is still more hotel to be open. There is a contradictory situation that is always created. Once people open up a hotel, they say there is so much competition, how should I get the business? And when they have to get into industry, they say, oh, there is shortage of hotel. What do you think? Where do you fit in?
Where I fit into is, initially I started with a 24 rooms hotel with my own brand, which was called Sterling Inn. Then I saw कि competition is there. No doubt कि, you know, अगर आप एक होटल ओपन कर रहे हो, आपके पास 2-3 unbranded hotels भी है, 2-3 branded hotels भी है. But how I position myself is, what does customer want? They want a good place to stay. Your distribution has to be right. Earlier, hotels used to only depend on travel agents. You know, आपको अगर bulk bookings चाहिए होगा. But with the help of tech and with the help of OTAs today, there are good amount of distribution. So your network has to be good, and, you know, you need to make good connections with your online travel agencies plus your travels. Then आपका business सही तरह से आपको आ सकता है. And the need of social media. Today, what I feel and what every business has to do is be on social media. क्योंकि social media is something which you can show your product much better and people could see this and they could come to
Because
you.
there's a lot of reach out there.
Yes.
All right. Earlier it was
Not that great. A lot of people were not doing social media. Now, if you see like 5-star hotels, name the big brands,
yeah
they've never done social media marketing. They've only done, advertisements
the
or
old era.
the old era
Yeah.
where it was just more of ads. And because it was like a status for people staying, like, let's
In
say
a five-star
spending
hotel,
10K or 12,000 rupees and staying in a Taj, it was more of like a
status.
status thing.
Yeah.
But that is not there anymore.
Yeah, I think I'll quote this and add on to your point. I remember having this conversation with someone earlier. If you walk in a Taj hotel and it was clear your age is above 35
Yes.
and you are dressed in a suit, you're making a lot of money. That's
Mhm.
the reason you can afford Taj.
Exactly.
Now today, a 22, 23-year-old boy coming in a jeans and t-shirt and shirt can afford Taj because now 23, 24 years of age of person is making the similar amount of money
Exactly.
to 35, 40
Yeah.
years of experience. So I think, yeah, you have rightly said. So now categorize status situation has gone. People are not looking for really the
Mhm.
brand or something. They're looking for a good state
Convenience
experience that
and
you
comfort.
talked about.
Yes.
Okay, so experience is beyond the brand now.
Experiences beyond the brand.
Okay, is there anything that you guys are doing in your hotel for enhancing the guest experience?
What we do is, first our USP is, we have spacious rooms. A lot of people today, they prefer spacious rooms. Second is before the guest checks in, we do have a coordination. जैसे कि, when we get a booking, हम guest से connect करते हैं, हमसे, discuss with them कि आप क्या time पे आना, what time will you be checking in? If you need a transport, we'll arrange the transport for you. And even once they come in, we ask them कि, what is their purpose of visiting, and if they just come to roam around, then we suggest them a lot of tourist attractions. So it's based off the communication. Like just like, when a guest comes to your house, you do a lot of talking to them, you greet them as your own relative or a brother. So it's the same thing what we do in our hotel, and that's what we have seen the demand where we have a lot of repeat customers. That is why, because they loved the way they spoke to the front office, they loved the way how the housekeeping kept their small needs, like to remind them ki they have their flight tomorrow at 9 a.m.
Yeah.
Remind them ki the taxi has come and you'll have to leave. So these are the small points which we are getting a lot of
So
retention.
you guys are focusing much on communication.
Much on communication and
Like it said, common sense is not no more common now, and
Yeah.
communication is very important. And
Communication,
I feel that
yes.
because when you go to an international hotel chain, and this conversation happening with some of the veteran in the industry. I was in Dubai and talking to someone. He said, Prashant, if you go to Europe, Dubai or any other place, they communicate, but it's more of a standard now. How was your flight? Did you have any trouble? But when you go to India, when you go to other part of Asian countries, they are more personalized. It is not their standard response to every guest. It's their response to the people who are, currently out there coming from flight or anything of that sort.
It's way
So,
of personalized
very personalization.
communication.
So communication is a good point that
Yes.
you said, and you also mentioned about the technology when it comes to making a business grow. So, like you said, coming back to that point, there is business, but for only who can get business.
Business.
All right, and by doing technology, OTAs, and all of those, what is the technology role in hotel business or operations right now? How do you feel the technology is going to change the hospitality industry in terms of operation, in terms of sales, and also in terms of profit?
I'll tell you about this. Because there is a big amount of team, not every time, आप manual say bookings check कर सकते हैं. Like, if you have listed on Make My Trip or booking.com, earlier it used to be a way where, the bookings used to come to your email. Because if you have regular bookings, then sometimes you might miss out on checking the emails. And then, once a guest checks in and if you do not have the voucher, the guest would get very angry. But today it's beautifully designed, OTA managements होते हैं आपकी जो revenue managements which are there. We've made channel managers. Through channel managers, you get to know key honors every day-to-day basis, how many bookings have arrived. And you even have Google reviews coming in, and there are portals like Guestara or Kepsla. In that, you get to know how many people were happy with you, how many people are not happy with you. Earlier, what we used to do was we used to go on Google and we used to check our Google reviews on the rating, how many people are happy, how many people are not happy. And sometimes we don't even have their details, like, their contact numbers and everything. But today, with these AI tools and everything what has come in, we get to know if the guest is not happy, who the guest is, and we try to contact them, we speak to them, and then we give them a justification as well. Even though the client is not happy, we first apologize to them, but secondly, we make them understand what led to this reason, and we explain them. And the next time if they want to come in, we definitely give them maybe a discount or maybe a complimentary room, which adds up
as a gesture.
Yeah, as a gesture.
No, I think two most important things that you mentioned. One is communication, another one is reputation. So these are two things that you are doing, and it sounds basic, but this is the key of a good hospitality, and if you want to bring up
And consistency.
All right. So tell me any technology part that you have embedded in your brand and you want to continue on that, and you see that is the future, that you are ahead of it now.
So in one of our hotels, we added Retavins. So Retavins is a platform where it's an online revenue management firm. So you get your personalized revenue management where you have people who you can coordinate with. Because revenue management is something, you have hotels in and around you. You have 10 hotels in and around you, but with the same pricing. And the pricing fluctuates on a daily basis. Kabhi upar hota hai, kabhi niche hota hai. We have the experts who gives us the expertise. Ki, today the demand is so much. Aapka price kya hona chahiye? Sometimes you could increase the price depending on how good your hotel is, or sometimes just to get the business, you could reduce a price a little bit just to acquire that sort of business. And second is, there are AI reports. So what Redevins does to us is they send us an AI report stating up, okay, first to the 30th of that month, how good was your business? How many people have approached your business? How many people have converted? Aapke kitne rooms check-in hoye? And even if the rooms have not been checked in, what was the reason? Maybe your Google reviews was one reason. People are seeing your reviews and then not coming in. So these are few reports, and you even get to know your dashboard. Earlier, what we used to do, we used to hire a finance manager just to check ki aapka revenue kitna ho raha hai, month to month, are you increasing or is the revenue being declined? But with Retavins coming in, what we do is we have a projection as ki, last month what was our revenue, this month what is the revenue. So you don't actually need a manager to do this. As a CEO or as a vice president of my organization, they could literally sit and check all of this.
So basically,
and through that trend, we get to know, are we going the right way, or is there something which we are lacking and which we have to improve?
So this is all, I boil it down to one single word. This is data. So what we have understood, that if you have a lot of data, that makes your work easier.
Absolutely.
Make you more aware of the decision that you are going to take.
Exactly. Yeah.
And also help you to make more profit, right? So understood. So this is the part of technology that you guys are using.
Yeah.
And data, as I said, is a new oil, but it is a crude oil.
It
You
is
have
crude
to-
oil,
you
because
have to-
without the data, if you don't know what your customers want, what your guests want, what are they happy about, what are they not happy about, if you do not make those minor changes, the guest is going to leave you and go to another hotel which is doing all of that.
But trust me, Mustaqeem, if I talk about data, a lot of people have data.
Yeah.
But like I said, it's a crude oil till the time you process it. So if you have data and you're doing nothing on it,
about it. Yeah.
it is just sitting out there. Data can give you a lot of information.
Absolutely.
And with that information, if you're taking a lot of decisions.
Absolutely.
So
Even
are you
with the
guys taking a
basic
lot of
data-
decision on
Even
data?
with the basic data, what we have, we sometimes send offers. Let's say, agar this month our occupancy is not great, we try to make some offers, and the data which we have, we try to send communications. Through that, we have seen conversions as well.
So this is good point. So now let's move to economics of a hotel. How does a 24, 30 room hotel, because that's gonna be in huge number out there in India in coming years, because we are seeing the rise of it. And I'm coming from city like Indore. I've seen a lot of hotel opening. Maximum hotel which is opening is less than 50 room hotels, and because it is, like you said, it is easy to make, it take less cost, And then if someone has to take it on rent as well, it is again a very less cost, 3 lakh, 4 lakh, 5 lakh rupees a month, and you can become a hotel owner. So what do you think? What is the unit economics work in if you're building a 30-room hotel? Uh, what is your fixed expense? What is your variable expense? How much profit a person can make?
So if you see your budget hotels, the gross profit is minimum of 25 to 30% for budget hotels.
Okay.
And your expenses are more of like your staffing, your housekeeping, your rentals, and then your other electricity bill, water bill. So these are the sort of expenses which a hotel has. So as a 24 rooms hotel for me, because you add your rentals as well, it comes up to approximately 5 to 6 lakhs. But the same thing can be reduced if you have more number of rooms. So 24 rooms also has the same expenses. Even if you're making 50 rooms, also has the same expenses.
That
because
fixed cost remains
yeah,
same.
fixed cost remains the same because front office आपका उतना ही use होगा. Housekeeping you might need to use maybe one or two other housekeeping, but other than that, your tech, your social
Everything,
media, everything is included. Only maybe the rental would increase a little slightly because the area increases more. क्योंकि 24 room का rental would be different.
Yeah.
And if you're taking like 50 rooms or 45 rooms, the rooms would increase. So a rental would increase a little bit. But for a 24 room in Bangalore, where we are at the moment, it's around 4 to 5 lakhs. This is the
profit?
expense. This is the expense.
What is the profit?
So profit is, again, I would say 3 to 4 lakhs.
Is the average
Yeah.
profit?
This is an average profit.
And
If you do it rightly.
yeah, so if I go to 50 room, it will become 10 lakh rupees
Easily,
upwards?
yes.
Okay. Now, this will bring me to a question that I've been looking on for answer for. There is this owner, one of the owner that came to us and said, Prashant, I want to take only 20 room, 15 room hotel because I don't know how to fill all of these 50 rooms. Because when they take 50 room hotel, their struggle is that how will I fill this?
Absolutely.
And they take 15 room thinking that I'll be able to fill it. But they are not going to make more profit. Like you said, 24 room will make 3 to 4 lakh rupees
Yes.
profit, and your 50 room hotel will make upwards of 10 to 15 lakh
10
rupees profit.
10 lakhs.
10 lakh rupees
Yeah.
profit. Now with 10 lakh rupees, there is double the amount. Will you be able to make 10 lakh, or is it good to be at 3-4 lakh?
So if you're starting, it's always good to start from the base. So earlier, play with 24 rooms or 30 rooms. Why I started with 24 rooms is because someone from non-hospitality background. So I had done my master's in London and I came back, and with my dad's support, we started with the 24 rooms. So why we started with the 24 rooms? Just to understand, how to bring in this experience, how to bring in a lot of guests. And then I understood, the importance of having online presence as well as an offline presence. You just can't 100% depend on OTAs so that they could give you the business. But definitely, if you're in and around corporate areas, you or your salesperson should definitely go and tap onto the corporate market. Even if you're getting 2 to 3 bookings from per company, and you have like 5-6 companies around, that itself gives you a lot of volume. Because sometimes अब कोई corporate आ रहा है, they can stay with you for maybe 1 month. Sometimes they could stay with you for minimum at least 10 to 15 days. And if they're giving you more volume, more the money. So for a first timer, it is always necessary to start small. Start with if you're getting like 20-25 rooms, play with that, understand what are the mistakes you're making. And once you excel with that, then you'll get the confidence. Okay, fine, my distribution is set now. Mera 24 rooms is working really well. Now I could go on and tap to a bigger hotel inventory, because you may get bigger inventories, but as you said, if you're not able to fill those rooms month on month, you'll have those expenses, and how would you cover those expenses? So it's always better to play with a 24 or 20 rooms. Get your knowledge right, get your staffing right, get your inventory right, and get your distribution right. If you have this as well, then you could take the risk on taking and expanding to 50 rooms or maybe even 100 rooms.
So if I get it right,
Yeah.
I have to start small, because then we have to learn and go, explore and mistake, and then we can go back to 50 rooms and all of this.
Definitely.
How much time for it took you to realize that now there's a time I can go and open a new hotel, because you have 5-6 hotels now?
Yeah.
So how much time from first hotel to second hotel?
So from first hotel to second hotel, it took me literally 6 months. But in this 6 months, till today, I do keep making a lot of mistakes, but with these mistakes you learn a lot.
Yeah.
One thing what I understood is, for one hotel, as a founder, you yourself can manage it with one or two people.
Yeah.
But when you're expanding from one hotel to two hotels to three hotels or four hotels, you need to make your centralized reservation strong. You need to have a good team, because one person can't do much. But if you're having a good team, and what I did differently with other people is, a lot of people, to save costs, wo kya karte hain, they want to manage everything by their own, or they add their family members to start off the hotel ki koi bharose wala hai chalane ke liye. But what I understood is, you need to hire good people, and the people who are in this industry and who have been working in this industry for a long time. Kyunki if you get people who've been working in this industry for 15-20 years, what happens is they already know how the hotel works. The only difference is, they are coming from good branded hotels to an unbranded hotel. The key is, you need to let them make their own decisions, and if you pay them well, then definitely they will help you achieve the goal of
Understood.
opening more hotels.
So again, I'm just trying to make sense out of everything, because this is kind of a playbook for anyone who has to open a hotel. So get good team member is good thing, and let them do their job, which is what you mentioned, and give them freedom to make things,
their own decisions,
and don't involve a lot of family members. Otherwise, it will be a small family business, not be able
not
to
a
grow.
huge experience.
So when it comes to growing it, I think there is huge amount of expansion which is happening in brands now. So a lot of franchises coming in. So this data came to me in 1 year ago when I was doing this entire research on this, that India is most of the managed market rather than franchise, and global market is more of a franchise than managed. Now, when it comes to India, now I'm looking at, there are more brands coming in, like a Bloom, Oyo came and gone, and but still there. I'm saying that the boom is gone. Fab is there, Tribo is there. Now, a lot of international brand has sectored them into a smaller inventory also. Marriott has got Select, and then there is Ibis, which is coming into styles and budget, and other brands as well. I not want to take a name, but there are brands which are coming into franchise. We are seeing a lot of franchise in F&B now. And trust me, 5 years, 10 years ago, we were not seeing so much of franchising. But now it is happening. And this is happening because of the young generation out there. I want to understand, how would you look at franchising or having an independent business, or whether it is cafe or your own hotel. So we are talking about hotels, so let's stick to hotels. So what is the difference that you will find from franchising or having an independent hotel brand of your own?
So I'll give you an example of this. Why do a lot of people buy franchisees is, there are two types of people. That's what I feel. Ek who is ready to take the risk and who has the patience to make your own brand. As you know, to make your own brand, it's not an overnight game. Sometimes it takes 1 year, sometimes it could even take 5 years. And in this 1 to 5 years, you need to have a lot of confidence, because a lot of people are gonna, come and criticize you that, your brand is not good. You'll have to handle a lot of rejections. So it's a lot of patience game. Agar aapko aapka khud ka brand banana hai, you need to wait for a lot of time. You need to have the patience, and you need to have the capability to bear what people are telling you. If you have this, and if you feel yes, you want to make a difference, that's when your brand gets created. But a lot of people do not want to get into all of this. They have the money, they want to get into the business. Kinky, they have like XYZ money, and they want to invest that money, and they want to have a monthly return. For that, a lot of people, why are they approaching franchisees? Because franchisee has all their SOPs ready. Aapko kya milta hai? What it took me for 3 years, 4 years to make those SOPs or to make the brand, franchisees have all of this ready. They have their distribution ready, they have their sales team ready. Even if they want to, assist you in getting upcase team members, they will do each and everything. So someone who doesn't want to take a lot of risk and wants to get out into the market and have everything readily available in terms of distribution, in terms of networking, sales, then for them, franchisee is a very good option.
Okay. And why would someone choose? So it is taking a more risk on when if you are going to build your own brand. इतना रिस्क लेने के बाद मिलेगा क्या? So अगर आपका खुद का brand है, what do you think that how much time will it take? So franchise can give you a quick return, which is your ROI month wise, and brand will give you a a longer return, which is you can open up now 10, 20, and 50 hotels if you have that capital with you and resource and team.
Yeah.
What do you think that if there is a young person who's coming out in in their
Mhm.
20s, in their 30s, what they should be opting for? Of course, the risk appetite you mentioned, but what is the ideal for someone to?
Make your own brand. Because when you make your own brand, you have the freedom to, add or remove things or modify things. But with franchisee, you're just taking a distribution. So you have to do what they tell you to do. So it's like you can't make your own decisions. So
Yeah.
you just have to follow the guidelines and SOPs. It's like, when you're in school, they teach you discipline activities and you just have to follow them. So with franchisee, it's the same module because, you do not have the flexibility. And second thing is you are promoting their brand.
Yeah. So everything that hard work that you do, they are getting
They are getting it.
out. Okay. So how do you feel that if you tomorrow build a brand, would you be going out and selling as franchisee?
Absolutely, I would. Why? Because, there are two ways to look at it. Not everyone has the capability to make their own brand or, to survive in the market for a very long time. Some people give up with it. And what difficulties I have faced or team members have faced, I do not want people to face that. So if people have a ready hotel available, or maybe they're constructing a hotel or a land available, and if they want to take a franchisee, they get all of this readily available.
Yeah.
And one way, as a business, if you look into a business, as a business owner, it's not easy for me to expand by opening your own hotels each and everywhere. So let's say I'm in Bangalore, I have the distribution ready with me, I have the network and the connection ready available. But the same thing, if I want to open my hotels in Delhi or Mumbai, I wouldn't have those connections or I wouldn't have those network what people in Delhi already available. So if I find a like-minded person like me who wants to open up a hotel but doesn't know how to, run a hotel. So it's a quick way to scale where, you give your name and you give your distribution and they are there locally to manage that for you. So it would be a win-win situation for both.
So you're saying eventually franchisee is good
Yeah.
only if you make a brand and go and you sell the franchisee rather than taking a franchisee. Understood. So basically it all boils down to how much risk you can take,
Exactly.
how much patience you have. And is it easy now to make a brand even if I have a 5 year of patience and I want to take risk, I have nothing to lose. Do you think that I'll be able to make a brand of myself in next 2 years, 3 years, 5 years?
Definitely, if you believe in yourself and if you have the right people with you, no doubt you can. And at the same time, you need to be on social media today because social media is something which could make you or break you. But if you're doing the right things and if you're giving them a sort of education, and if you're
Story,
motivating
basically.
people, then definitely yes.
So if you can get your story out to people and they like it, it will be easier for us to become a brand
Absolutely.
rather than going through a traditional way. All right. And and what do you think about challenges? So one is making a brand. It doesn't come as easy. Nothing is a piece of cake. While you are working, I want to understand your experience of challenges that a person will face to make a hotel, run it, and to go and make a brand.
So there are a lot of challenges. The initial challenge would be is, you need like-minded people who are working with you. So your team has to be really good because one person, as I said, can't do each and everything. So you need good front office or, good housekeeping people who would support you. The second thing is obviously when you're starting a new hotel, initially your occupancy is very less. So you do face a lot of expenses.
Okay.
Third is a lot of approvals by the government as well, because when you're opening a hotel and running a hotel, there are lots of people who would come in and who would be checking your hotel. So all your approvals have to be in
This
place
you're talking
because
about India, right?
in India, yeah, obviously I'm talking about India. So your approvals has to be in place because if your approvals are not there, then running a hotel would be a little stricter and you would have to go through a lot of process. But if
Yeah.
everything is in line, and staffing is one thing which I feel is
That's the biggest issue.
is biggest issue in the Indian hospitality market. You won't believe there are so many times I keep speaking to other hoteliers and I ask them, what are the problems you've gone through and what have you faced? They said that finding the right staff is very important over here because especially Gen Z today, they do not stick in one place for a very long time, because it's more of, if you speak to them nicely, if you are giving them everything, they're staying with you. But let's say if you get angry, or if they're not doing the work, and if you're disappointed with them, they leave the job. And job loyalty is not there anymore in hospitality, especially for front office. So let's say agar aap kisi ko 20,000 de rahe ho, and if the front hotel is offering them 21,000 or maybe 21,500, they shift the job. So you train a person, and each and everything, teach them the distribution and all of that. But once they leave and go, you need to hire someone else, you need to train them again. So it's very time consuming. And what happens is, those people are used to those guests every time, but the next time, if someone else is there and if they've not spoken to them nicely, the guest is disappointed and they stop coming. So it really impacts who is sitting in the front desk, because the front desk either makes you or breaks you.
So people is the biggest problem, and
People, yeah.
and I think it's not going to get solved sooner. Let me give you this stat about why this problem exists, how much I know about it. In the colleges after COVID, because this industry was the one which got hit by COVID in the max level, college has seen decline in number of people opting for hospitality, one. Second is more of a physical intense job when it comes to hospitality. If you talk about front office, housekeeping, F&B service, production, all the operation department, it is all of high physical labor job where you have to be involved physically. And people are now opting with the AI and all of other thing. It is good to sit with a laptop on a chair, and with an AC you can make money. So that has become an aspiration for everyone. Earlier it was that people were very fond of doing things with their hand and getting the praise. I remember if someone gets their name on TripAdvisor, they will go about Gaga to entire hotel saying, my name got into TripAdvisor, someone praised me. Yeah. And now this culture is gone. I just wanted to openly discuss this. What I see here, we called it Atiti Devo Bhava for a very long time. Now this is coming to the level that you gave me my convenience and I don't want to be felt like God. That's okay. So I'm seeing that more hotels are now getting into a situation which is run by less number of people, and more of a European hospitality coming in, which is bed and breakfast. Maybe you get a good, nice, clean room, and there's no service. There's no one to pick your bag. There's no one to greet you. There's no one to ask if the food was good or not. Do you think this is the way that we are heading towards? India will have this kind of hospitality?
So, because I actually manage businesses in UK, I've done my master's in UK and I still stay in the UK while I'm building my brand. What I've seen over there is, when I go a lot of European trips, or maybe stay in hotels in London, if I'm traveling from one city of London to another city like Manchester or maybe Birmingham, there, because the staff wages are so high, not everyone can afford to keep, three. I'm talking about budget hotels, or maybe, brands like Ibis or even Marriott.
Yeah.
So it's like, teen log are running a 100-room inventory. It's like one person in the front office is, serving the guests, even doing the night orders during the night time, jo night shift rehta hai. Plus he's assisting them to set up the tea, coffee, or, the breakfast tables in the morning. So one person actually plays 5 to 6 roles. But that thing in India is very different, because in India, the roles what you hire them, they are open to do just that. There are like few amount of people, who are open to work more, because some people, they do not see the time. There are two types of people. One is, people working just 9 to 5 and they're done with their job and they want to go and enjoy life outside. But there are some people who want to grow. So let's say if they have started with a salary of 20,000, their aim is to, grow in the company from front office to maybe general manager, or then, maybe being a decision maker of the hotel as well. So that depends. And in terms of, just bed and breakfast in India, I feel we have not reached that point, because people still, even if they're paying 2,000 or 2,500, they want to be treated well in the sense, when they're coming in with their bags have to be lifted, reached the room. And even for the smallest thing, they would want to call the housekeeping and, get those things. Even if you're paying 2,000 or 3,000 or maybe paying 8,000 or 10,000, they still want the same level of treatment. So going ahead, I'm not sure, but if that happens for hospitality, the cost would reduce, and with less amount of people we can still give the same service.
I think I I agree and disagree on this
Yeah.
point with you. I think this will end up there. Reason being, it is happening outside already. Like you told about London. When I go to London, I will not, expect someone to pick my bag.
Yeah.
But if I'm in Mumbai, if I'm in Delhi, if I'm in Indore, if I'm in Bangalore, I will expect why my bag was not picked up. It is the habit that we have, and it's been spoiled by us. The hospitality that we used to offer.
True.
And while we started traveling across borders, now India is traveling much more than they were before. I think when they will come in, the next generation, if it's 5, 10 years from down the line, we will have the similar set of hospitality across the globe. It will be most of a commodity business rather than experience business. And people will pay extra for experience, and that will be jungle safaris and glamping and all of those special kind of accommodation will be the place where you will get the experience. Rest, if you are in city, if you are in Goa, if you are in Manchester, if you are any other place, it will be standard cookie cutter. You come in, you stay, you get the food, you go out.
When you go out, yeah.
And I don't think that in business cities an experience will be any point now closer to it. Of course, the five-star hotel brand can do it. And what I look at now is I'm taking this a step forward to show my experience here is what I see when people ask, where do you work? They are very proud to say that I'm working with Taj, I'm working with Oberoi. No one want to say I work for hotel.
Hotel, yeah.
And I remember when, like we mentioned earlier, there was hotels were 5-star and then there were lodges. So when you say I work for hotel, brand doesn't matter at all because there was 3, 4, 5 brand. Now people not feel proud that they're working for hotel. They feel proud if they're working for Taj. Let me give you the story. I was in Marriott and there was this lady who served me coffee and she was well spoken, well dressed, and she was working there for 1.5, 2 years and total experience of 3 years, 4 years now. I asked her salary. You will be surprised. She was getting 12,000 rupees. That's it. And for that level of resource, an individual boutique hotel will pay 15, 20,000.
Easily.
But they will not go because they see the future. If I give 2 more years, I will be in different Marriott. I will be in international place some other way. So because they see the larger companies have better options available for you, they stick around there. But I think even if it's a larger company or smaller company, if you don't put your effort out there, you are not going to.
You're not going to.
So till the time this basic thing is not clear around, I think Indian hospitality is going towards it.
True.
And eventually you, I, and anyone who's going to come into business going to face the problem of people.
People, yeah.
All right. So what I have learned from this, and I wanted to, make it a simple position to understand how a hotel business is run in 2450 smaller budget hotel. First is looking at the business. You told there is a lot of domestic and employee traveling happening. So this is the market that one should look at if they are coming in. So they have to build a product which caters to this segment rather than other. And communication and systems is something that you have built for being differentiator, that if you do more communication, if you have built system in place, you can take care of
you can get the right amount. Yes.
Reputation is something that someone has to really work on.
Yes.
In terms of how someone has to open, you have to go small and then you have to learn, repeat and do a mistake and grow.
And then grow.
6 months is a time that person can learn easily and start working for another hotel.
Yes.
Another hotel.
If you're doing everything right.
So if you're taking more time, then which means you need to get up and, learn faster.
Get up and, hustle faster or, get good people into your brand so that, they could help you achieve this goal.
Yeah. And if you are someone who are looking for a long-term goal, build your brand. It's going to take time and social media, tell your story out there. Right. This is
today, if you see a lot of people, everyone's on social media, and even while I'm on my free time, what I do is I start going through reels and especially seeing people, who are building brands, and I get to learn from them, what did they do and what wrong did they do, and, how could you rectify these? So today's reels are very motivating. It again depends on, what your feed are. So if you're into business and if you want to see more of business videos, then, your algorithm just shows you that. So social media today is really important.
Yeah,
Day-to-day
highest
life.
consumable thing
Yeah.
on the planet right now.
True.
Okay, all right. Now, at final, I think I've got the playbook how to do it, and it is there in this podcast. Anyone can look at. Now, the point that you mentioned is if someone has to go in and the problem they are going to face is the biggest problem, if the rest everything can be sorted, is people.
People.
So if
Yes.
you're going to build a brand, you have to prepare for that your brand has to run with minimum people and maximum output. If this is not planned, you're not gonna.
You're not going to survive, especially because, without people, you can't run hospitality because, you need a front
Yeah.
office person to be on the table, who's doing your check-in and check-out. And you need a housekeeping person who is, making your beds, cleaning the floors. But without that, if these two departments are not there, you can't run a hotel business.
So basically, people serving people, and
People
people are
serving business.
required.
Yes.
What is your advice for anyone? Like you've already given the
Mhm.
playbook, but what is your advice for entrepreneur who want to enter in this industry?
enter enter slow, learn and grow, because you need to start somewhere, because if you do not start and if you just keep thinking ki, I want to start, you're just going with your time and you're not doing anything. But once you're entering, learn each and every day. Each and every day is a learning stage for you. You make mistakes, but you learn and grow from those mistakes. I'll give you my example. So when I started with 24 rooms, I had no idea. We made the building because we are into real estate and construction. We made the building, we did the interiors, we did go and recce 3-4 hotels. Through that, we made a good template. But what do I do next?
Yeah.
What type of staff do you need? Where do you keep your product, because you need to do it offline as well as online. So even if you want to do your OTAs, how do you do your OTAs? If you want to do it your way, then you'll have to list it individually in your properties. But if you're outsourcing it through a revenue management company, they are going to help you list it everywhere, and they're going to help you monitor the rates and everything. So each and every day, take advices from consultants maybe who are into hospitality, even if you have to pay a little extra, but that little extra is going to save you from the mistakes you're going to make. So it all depends on if you want to do it your way, how are you going to do it? You need to find a solution for this. If you do not know anything and if you're wasting time to find out what to do next, or maybe if you can spend a little bit and hire good consultants who can teach you, or maybe a hotelier who's already done those mistakes, he's going to guide you, he or she is going to guide you and let you know that what you have to do next. So you need to have good people surrounded by you. Sit with hoteliers, or maybe before you start, work in a hospitality background.
Oh, wow. Yeah. You triggered something in me with this line. Uh, People think hospitality is very easy, but it is difficult than flying a plane.
Exactly.
And I remember I've done revenue management for 16, 17 years now. And someone came up and say, you just change rate. I said, I do it better than you. That's why I've given 15 years to it.
True.
It's similar that you also can drive a car and I also can drive a car, but I'm a fundraiser and you drive normal on road. So there is a difference of thing, and people do not get into consulting someone, asking someone. They think that they will learn. Learning is something, doing mistake is something, but doing foolishness, being standing there and thinking that this entire knowledge will come to you by itself, it will not. So yeah, I think taken this
That
point.
is very important. Yeah.
Thank you, Mustaqeem, for all of this information and time.
Thank you so much,
And it
Prashant.
was
It was
lovely
lovely.
having you here.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank you.